Hello and welcome to Some Dude Shed. Normal services resumed this week. We are back in the shed, and we're here to tell each other some crazy stories from history. We have to figure out whether they're true or not. We generally like to do these in chronological order. So mine's the oldest. So I guess I'll go first.
Hit it. Go for it.
Okay. So the year is 249 BC. And this is in the First Punic War. So if you're not sure what that is, that's when Rome was fighting Carthage.
So no doubt there'll be video footage and all sorts of documents backing up that this actually happened.
There will be
you're about to tell us.
There are documents, yes. So this is all around the Battle of Drepana. Drepana being a town on Sicily. So, you know, the little island at the bottom of Italy. That bit there. So the Romans were going to attack the Carthaginian port. Had a load of quite a big navy. Had 130 ships ready to go in there and do the deed. Have a little special military operation to get them out. And they were led by the Roman commander Claudius Pulcher. The Romans wanted to be sure that they were whenever they did a military action, it was going to be successful. So they brought divine guidance with them in the form of chickens.
Holy chickens?
Sacred chickens, yeah, holy chickens. The idea was that they would feed the chickens before the battle.
Right, hold on a minute. The chicken isn't the bravest animal out there, as we may know. There's a few puns about being a chicken and things like that. And
they weren't going to send the chicken into battle. Goodness, they weren't
playing chicken, but it's not really a thing you take to war.
They weren't war chickens.
Yeah, but it's not really a thing to take to war and, think, whoa, this chicken's going to give us good luck because, chickens are brave.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
Oh, really? Or what do you think I'm going to say?
Did they maybe tell what their fortune was going to be by what the eggshells were going to look like? So basically, if there's any, maybe blood spots or something on the eggshells, that would be a bad omen.
Oh, no, that's far too complicated. Basically, the idea is you have the chicken and you give them some feed. And if they eat it well and gobble it all down quickly, it would be successful. The future operation would be successful. If they didn't eat very much, then it wouldn't be. Then it would probably be a failure. So,
but then, so if you starve the chickens for a day, then you're pretty much guaranteed a win in battle every time.
Well, the current state of the chickens was unknown, but they might have been a bit seasick because whenever they tried to feed the chickens in the morning of the battle, they didn't eat anything.
Oh no!
Exactly. Oh no! So all the sailors and soldiers were a bit unsure about continuing. So Claudius Pulcher, the Roman commander, basically got fed up with the whole thing, and he tossed the chickens overboard, and said and basically sent the order for them to go in to attack the port.
So they weren't that sacred then. These chickens,
not to Claudius, no.
Oh dear.
So they attacked. And the battle went exactly the way the chickens foretold, and the Romans lost nearly all their ships. And Carthaginian losses have not been recorded, but most historical records seem to say that they didn't lose anything. So the Romans basically just crashed their fleet.
I don't really picture the Romans betting on chickens.
It was very religious times back then.
But chickens.
Yeah, but they weren't stupid either. They were quite sort of a intelligent civilization, were they not? They were.
Yeah.
Were they sciencey at the time?
They were practical.
Yeah, they were sort of pragmatic, and they were
very practical, especially when it came to war. That's why they were so good at it.
Not so good on the sea, though. Not at this point, anyway, in history. This is quite early on in the empire. I think Rome had only just got control of the entirety of Italy at this point. But anyway, so they lost the battle. Claudius did make it back to Rome, but he was tried for sacrilege when he got back.
Just as a side note, do you ever play that game on the Xbox? What do you call that Roman game? He plays the Romans, the launch title came out with the Xbox One.
Oh, Rise, wasn't it?
Rise, Son of Rome.
Yeah.
Was it Rise, Son? Yeah, it was Rise, Son of Rome. Yeah. Was that the battle? And was that the battle in the start of that game?
No.
They came in by sea and.
No, I think that in Britain.
I'm pretty sure that game was entirely fictional.
Oh, really?
I think at some point towards the end they had Boudica invading Rome riding an elephant. So it's a bit
okay.
So that's about as realistic as Osama bin Laden riding into Washington DC riding riding a Sherman. It just doesn't. It's just kind of silly. But anyway, so this basically the true or false is did Claudius, commander of the fleet, ignore the omen from the chickens and lose a battle?
I don't know. I just find it hard to believe that Romans would look to a chicken for religious guidance.
It wasn't really religious guidance; it was military guidance.
Yeah, but you have to have faith in that omen.
Mm-hmm.
So the chickens were the military advisors.
But basically, yes, they were going to base their base whether they went on attack or not on mystical omens based on chickens.
I'll say false because I think the Romans were a wee bit more intelligent than that, just a wee bit.
Well, apparently they took guidance off it. They didn't take it on board. It's still attacked anyway.
Well, it was really this guy. I mean, he was tried for sacrilege when he got back. He wasn't a religious man who was leading the fleet. Obviously, the sailors and things must have been because they brought the chickens in the first place.
But then say this actually happened, right? How do you know for sure this definitely happened? Like, is there any sort of records that...
Yes, it's recorded in several places. There's also, the guy was tried in Rome. He was put in court for what he did. So there would have been witnesses, and it was all written down. So yeah,
put in court for just chucking the chickens overboard, or put in court for not obeying the chickens or not taking heed of their omen?
He was put in court for chucking the chickens overboard.
Mm.
You can ignore an omen. You're not going to get arrested for that, but you chuck the sacred chickens overboard. That's pretty bad.
You could have at least choked the chickens.
Do you not think the Romans would have viewed most animals as like sort of sacred in a way? Like, do you not think did they revere animals in any way? Or
I imagine they had something to do with goats. Pagan religions always have something to do with goats.
Well,
the Romans?
They did the odd sacrifice.
Pagans, yeah.
They did the odd sacrifice every now and then, and I think they did quite like their goats as well. You're right, because did they not have a god or a mystical figure that was...
All I know is
goat,
if a religion has multiple gods, there's a goat involved at some point.
Or an owl. I don't know what to say. What are you going with?
It's the contrast of a chicken having anything to do with battle. That's the thing I can't get.
It's because it's so long ago. Were the chickens owned by the Roman government?
Are you asking if they were state chickens?
Were they state-owned chickens? Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if they were state-owned chickens or they just got them from a farm.
Also, why would you just throw the chickens overboard? Surely you'd have some, lovely roast chicken instead of just throwing them into the water.
I think it's because they were just about to go into battle. They all the ships lined up.
Well, you can't just break a chicken's neck and save it for later.
Well, I think it was more the message he wanted to put across.
Hmm.
So screw these chickens and toss them overboard.
Not just stick the chicken on a trebuchet. Angry Birds, the enemy. I'm gonna say false. I think partly the reason why you chose this story way back is because, it was ages ago and people were stupid back then, so they must have done it.
I would never say that.
When there's people in the modern day that would do that.
There are stupid people all throughout history, including now.
Don't they still use an octopus to tell the outcome of the World Cup today?
That was ancient history. That was at least 2 World Cups ago, wasn't it?
I don't know if the octopus has died or not, but they used to use an octopus in a box. And octopus?
I don't think they live very long. I think an octopus only lives 5 years.
Was it Paul the octopus?
Yeah, he had a name like Paul.
I thought octopus live a really long time. I need to find out. Right now.
You can Google that. That is irrelevant to the story.
I'll give them values.
Mr. Red, what do you think? Do you think Claudius defiled the sacred chickens by chucking them in the sea?
It sounds plausible for sacrilegious reasons.
Right.
But I just can't get my head around that they would rely on chickens to...
You're right, it's 5 years.
Lucky guess.
Octopus. They only live 5 years, Jesus.
No, it's turtles I'm thinking of. They live for 200 years or something.
Yeah, forever.
Unless you're a chicken, in which case you...
The giant tortoise not live near 1,000 years or something stupid?
I think the oldest recorded is 180 or something.
Oh, is it?
Imagine living
But that's
that
the
long.
oldest recorded. We only discovered the Galapagos a few hundred years ago. So.
The giant sea turtles, like in Nemo?
The sea turtles? I don't know. You'd need to make sure that was the one that was born at that point.
I don't know.
I think sea turtles live... I don't know about giant turtles. You might be right about giant turtles. But sea turtles live for at least 200 years. If they're lucky, if they don't get eaten.
Right, back to the story.
Back to the story.
False. I was going to go false.
Silly rituals before battle, I can imagine, but I just don't think the Romans would look at chickens.
These people flipping... built Rome. They they had aqueducts and friggin' agriculture was amazing and like
Oh, the Egyptians built Egypt, and remember with the stories about them.
the
So,
Jason India River, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
So-
false.
well, I can tell you that this story is actually true.
Uh,
course it is.
Claudius Pulcher was warned by the omens to not attack, and he did, losing the battle. But whenever he, basically he got very frustrated because he's quoted as saying when he threw the chickens off the boat, he said, "If they don't want to eat, they can drink. In the sea they go."
fair enough.
So,
Wow.
Wow, that's the end of that chapter. Moving on.
moving on, Mr. Red, what's your story?
Right, mine takes place in 1979.
Oh,
Great year.
Great year. What was so good about it?
Don't know. I'm sure
Fair
something
enough.
good happened.
Sure. Anyway, well, there was a woman called Elvira Adams, and she wasn't-
Helveta Adams.
Elvira Adams. She wasn't having a great time in life. She got laid off her job, and she was living on welfare, $100 a month. Kind of, stretching to make ends meet, just survive. So,
She started OnlyFans.
1979.
right, well, anyway, she was a bit depressed, a bit desperate. How do you say this takes place in New York?
Okay.
Nope. Yeah. Okay.
No,
New
okay,
York.
right, well, it takes place in New York. So she went to the Empire State Building one day,
Oh
Okay.
no.
and she went to the 86th floor, which is the top, it's the observation deck. I mean,
That's
it's
the
pictured.
highest floor then, yeah.
There was no guards around. Usually there is. There wasn't this time. There's also a high fence, so the guards pull you off the fence before you climb over. So she climbed the fence and jumped and landed
Oh dear.
on the 85th floor on a ledge.
Okay.
It's not funny. It's not funny. But, oh shit.
And there was a security guard on the floor that heard banging at one of the windows.
So just
Screams for
sorry,
help.
what floor did she jump from?
86th. Landed on 85th.
Right, okay.
Because remember the Empire State is like stepped at the top, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure the 86th floor is the observation deck, which I think is the top, which technically counts as a floor. I think this is the way it works. And then the 85th floor is just the gift shop. I've been up it, I can't remember.
Right.
But yeah, so the guard, he's rapping away the window, screaming for help. And eventually got her inside. And they thought, somebody threw her off the top. It's like, what on earth happened, madam? And it's like, oh no, I'm just trying to kill myself. Yeah. So basically, did a woman survive jumping off the Empire State Building? She was actually trying to kill herself.
Yes.
She didn't look down first then.
Well, apparently it was a rather massive gust of wind just happened at that time and blew her back onto the ledge.
All right.
Apparently.
You're,
And
someone's
and-
looking after her.
Winds, up at that high, wind speeds can reach on any day. Randomly, there could be just massive gusts of up to 110 miles an hour.
Mhm.
So she jumped, just happened to be a gust at that time and saved her life.
I'm near sure I heard a story similar to this with a woman who went to jump, but I think I don't know if I just making this up or like if I'm just remembering it wrong. But did somebody like try to grab her or save her? But like they missed or something, or she like ended up losing her balance, and then she just fell anyway because like I think she was going to come down, but she lost her balance but fell anyway, and then died.
Hmm.
But I don't know if that's like something made up from a film or something, or I can't remember.
So I guess when
And at this point, loads of people had, well, not loads, but several people had jumped off the Empire State Building and died.
I guess whenever let's say God intervened and saved her on the 85th floor, she didn't decide to try again then.
No, she didn't.
I thought
So-
that's what the story was going to be. It's like, and she landed, she went back up and went to jump again.
Well, no, she landed on a ledge outside a window instead of just rolling off the ledge. She must have took that as a sign. Not saying she did take that as a sign. I'm just thinking she must have took that as a sign. But if you throw yourself off and you just land on the floor below, you're like, maybe I'm not supposed to do this.
So was there a happy ending to this? What happened to her?
Don't know.
Oh, right, okay.
Could go either way. Like, I mean,
Well, it sounds possible to me because it is quite high up and there's a lot of wind that high.
it is stepped, yeah. So,
And it is stepped at the top.
or
Like,
she
like
could
that.
have landed on the next step and died on the next step.
There's only one floor. You wouldn't die from that.
But is it one floor though? That could be a lie. It could be maybe like 5 floors, and then there's the next step, and that could probably be enough to kill you.
Well, it sounds very believable to me. It almost sounds a little too believable.
What's the true or false?
Did a woman survive jumping off the Empire State Building?
Yeah, true.
I'll say true as well. Sounds very believable.
Okay. It's true.
All right.
Hooray! She
Of-
lives.
Evelta Adams, if I'm pronouncing that properly. So after she was brought in, she escaped with a fractured pelvis, and that was it.
Oh, well, fractured pelvis. If she woke up with a fractured pelvis, that probably means she also woke up with an awful lot of debt being in America. But
Yes, she made her money problems worse.
yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Hang on.
All right. So my story starts with an antique dealer called Laura Young. All
Right.
right. Who lives in America, and she would travel around different sort of antique shops to looking for gems. You know, just things that she could sell on that people have gave in without sort of thinking about what they give away. I say antique shops, by the way, they're actually like Goodwill shops. In America, they have a thing called Goodwill. Over here, we have like Oxfam.
Charity shops.
Basically, just a charity shop, yeah. But Laura spotted a marble head on the floor underneath the little display table. It caught her eye because of its aged appearance. And on closer inspection, she realized it was made of carved marble. It weighed about 52 pounds, and it was only priced at $35 or $34.99 to be precise. So she was like, well, definitely worth more than that. So she bought it and she buckled it into the back seat of her car. In her research, she noticed that the marble was much older than initially thought, and on further inspection, she discovered that it was actually a carving of Nero.
All right. Emperor Nero, right?
Yep. What was his full name? You're a risen expert.
Nero the Christian burner, I think.
Okay.
Was it actually?
No, I don't know what it is.
He didn't like him. But yep. In her analysis, it turns out that the piece dated back to the Julio-Claudian era, making it 2,000 years old.
All right.
So a 2,000-year-old Roman bust of Nero.
The things you find in a charity shop.
Yep. But in her research, she realized that it looked more like Roman general Pompey.
Okay.
Is he significant?
He basically ran a little bit of a civil war against Julius Caesar.
Yes, that's what it was.
Wasn't very successful.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, but that's roughly where he is, right? His big political rival to Julius Caesar.
Was he not in charge of Rome's defense whenever Caesar crossed the Rubicon?
I think so.
And he really mucked that up.
Yeah, well, they weren't mates anyway. The bust was traced by her friends at a London auction house. They found a century-old catalogue from a German museum known as the Pompeianum in Aschaffenburg, some German place. The bust was likely brought to the US by a soldier who either looted it or bought it from a fellow looter at the end of the war.
Just so we know, how big is this? This is like the size of a human head.
52 pounds and pretty much, yeah.
So 52 pounds, that's about 20 kilos. That's going to be quite a difficult thing to hide in your backpack.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what the crack was over there, if they looted stuff or just, I suppose there were spoils of war at the end of the war, weren't there? In Germany.
Yeah, like places lying in ruins. And
Yeah.
that's the thing about being occupied is you have no rights, you have no protection. You're at the mercy of the invaders, that's it.
Because of the significance of the bust, Laura wasn't allowed to keep it, and she was saddened by the news. Aww. It was on display at the San Antonio Museum of Art for a year before it's shipped back to Germany. I don't know if it's still there or if it's in Germany now. Laura was saddened, having to part with her bust, which she affectionately named Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Was she compensated for this?
I'm not sure. Laura explains, he was attractive, he was cold, he was aloof. I really couldn't have it. He was difficult. So yeah, my nickname for him was Dennis. Laura had a half-size version of the bust 3D printed as a reminder of the precious Dennis who once graced her home. And she actually had him in her house, like as soon as you walk in, there's like a little alcove, like where you put like a vase or something, or a vase or whatever you call it, in the wall, and she had him set in there, and so she would say hi to him whenever she came home and say bye-bye to him whenever she was leaving.
Use him as a hat stand.
I don't think she would disgrace him like that.
Well, nice hat.
Probably.
So the true or false... Are you finished now?
Yeah.
So the true or false is, did a woman find a 2,000-year-old Roman statue in a charity shop?
2,000-year-old Roman bust bought for $34.99 in Texan Goodwill shop.
It sounds plausible. I mean, you know, I think we've all seen a few episodes of Porn Stars. We know that they
What?
Sorry, say that again.
you know, porn shop stars.
Sorry, say that again.
Porn, PAWN.
Oh, right.
We've all,
Oh, Pawn.
Yeah.
Pawn.
Yes,
we've all seen a
Pawn
few
Stars.
episodes of that show. So we know that some weird things can turn up in America. So it's possible. What do you think, Mr. Red?
What's making you doubt?
Looting, tooting, cowboy shooting. Sure. Even just a ill-gotten artifact through the black market. Sure. Why would it end up in a charity shop though? Somebody who owned it died, and it just ended up in Goodwill.
I think what's probably likely happened is somebody just had it, and then it could have been like an old relative that died, and then the family is going through the house and was like, what an
Is it-
ugly looking bust, and just gives it to the charity shop, just get rid of it. They didn't understand the real inherent value of it.
The guy who originally found it might not have even realised that either. That's in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll go for true. Stranger Things have happened.
I'd
There's
be
4 seasons of it.
I'd be verging on true as well, because you can imagine that if a soldier's looting a place, they just kind of grab what they can, don't they? They don't know what's valuable and what isn't.
Well, depend. Like, did they say what war it was from, or what war they think it could have been sourced from?
Um,
I'm going to assume it was Italy.
I said it was returned to Germany.
It was returned to Germany, or
yeah, let's go back to Germany. So, likely brought to the US by a soldier who either looted it or bought it from a fellow looter at the end of the war. They found a century-old catalogue from a German museum known as the Pompeianum in Aschaffenburg. I'm butchering the names.
well, if they thought it came from looting, like literally, if it wasn't nailed down, it was taken by looters, especially in like a completely bombed out Germany. Like, there's nobody there to stop you.
Would soldier have been allowed to bring stuff back though?
Well, within their luggage allowance, yeah, as long as they weren't flying EasyJet.
Yeah,
52-pound bust.
there would have been a particular item. If anything, it's kind of a hard one. 'Cause that would have been smuggled. Like, he wouldn't have shown that off.
But again, how do you smuggle it? Because it's huge.
Well, don't forget, there was the monuments men who were literally tasked with tracking down what the Nazis had stolen, like arts and statues and just valuables that had been stolen by the Nazis.
Would they then return to where they came from though?
They were returned to where they came from, but these things are also very valuable. So even the average GI knows they're valuable and thinks, well, if I can get this and hide it, sell it about a decade down the line, make a bit of money out of it. And so that's why all these things as well had to be dealt with. I believe they're all dealt with MPs, and there was always an officer on deck whenever they're guarded as well, whenever these stashes were found.
I remember there were things that weren't necessarily historical treasures, but there were some things that were stolen that turned out to be very valuable. I remember there was, in Band of Brothers, there was a guy who found Hitler's photo album.
Yeah, the thing that would have been wanted for is intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You need intelligence. You don't need it anymore. It's all over. But,
well, no, whenever you're bringing people to trial, well, here's photographic evidence of you with Hitler.
Oh, that's fair enough.
I never knew the man. Well, why are you having tea at the Berghoff?
Anyway, I'm gonna say true. Why not? It sounds very, very possible, and they did take a lot of stuff. The only thing that doesn't quite tickle my pickle is is how he got it to America, because it's quite big and heavy. But yeah, sure. I'll say
Is marble delicate or is it strong?
It's stone.
It's sturdy enough looking.
It's pretty sturdy.
You chip it, but you'll not break it unless you drop it from a good height. You also got to think of your infantry bag. It's quite big.
All the other stuff you got to put in it.
Was it not just about the size of a head?
Well,
Be heavy
so
more
I
than
imagine
anything.
there's quite shoulders and everything, right?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
It would be
No,
heavy, I would say. I think you could conceal it in the sacks they would have carried
Mhm.
with all your personal items on it or your gear on it.
Mhm.
You could hide it at the bottom of that, I could imagine. It would just be really heavy.
Well, to my knowledge, it was just a head.
Sure, I'll say true.
I think it's true.
You think it's true? You think it's true?
Mhm.
It's true. Well, there's a picture of the bust with the price tag on its face.
Oh, lovely.
Strapped into the back of the car.
Terrific.
And there's a picture of the antiques dealer lady.
Yeah, you
With
could
the-
easily conceal that.
Goodness me.
He looks quite sad, so he does.
Yeah.
Especially strapped in the bag. He's like, oh, 2,000 years and this is where I end up.
2,000 years.
Just want to go home.
The nose looks like it's been replaced. It looks like,
or glued back on or something.
yeah, the nose looks slightly off.
It's been repaired. Look, no,
Just funny seeing that with the price tag on his face in the back of the car seat. Brilliant.
capitalism on its finest. No, it's after the Second World War. I can tell you, if it wasn't nailed down, it had a chance of walking. So
There you go. Luton.
Luton, Tooting.
And that's
Just ironic. It's had
That's
to go
what-
back to Germany.
Even though it's
Yeah.
Italian.
even though it's Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, on that happy note.
On that note,
Bye bye.
goodbye.
Bye.